I'm in a force field.
You're in a field, are you?
hmm I'm This is tall, and I'm wearing metallic rubber sort of shoes.
Mm.
It's interesting.
Can you look around and describe what else is happening in this space? Describe for me in more detail your surroundings.
I'm There's people with me, many others following mm, following me. We're carrying um, oh, the very a metal wep weapon that
Mm.
has lights. It's odd. And we have rubber, have an interesting kind of outfit on.
Mm.
It's like a suit, spacesuit armor,
So tell
sort of.
me more about your appearance and this armor. What does it do?
Seeing myself from the outside, I literally just see this gray rubber outfit. The inside, though, it's more or less like normal vision, and I could smell outside and see, and the I can see like zoom in and stuff. And so there's a display just
Mm.
next to it. It's connected to my brain.
Mm.
It's interesting.
So does it
So I could
have
just
some
think it.
sort of so does it have some sort of technology?
Yeah, it is. It actually just listens like through the layer of the skin, and then it responds to that. So it's sort of alive.
Mm. What would you say your kind look like? Can you describe that for me?
Weird. I look human-ish, like with sort of. I can't really see my skin, and my eyes are large and black, but not like totally. It's not. Hmm, looks alien, not, but also human.
Mm. Mm.
And I'm seeing many different sorts of things around me. It's all kind of the same
So does
interesting armor
mm. Mm.
people.
So does the body feel young or old?
It feels young,
Mm.
but it's not. I'm not sure how old it is, but it's tall. It's like lanky
Mm.
and very tall. Actually, it's interesting
Mm.
feeling that. I could feel like about 7 feet,
Mm.
8 feet tall.
Does it feel masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
Mm. And does the body feel healthy?
Because I'm concerned about radiation.
Mm.
So this armor is supposed to protect against that, among other things.
Mm.
But there's some, so it's like the grass is kind of, it's not green anymore. It's like black, brown char,
Mm.
and it's sort of dead.
Mm.
So I'm concerned about radiation because I'm not super. It would, if I didn't have armor, it would really affect me.
Mm. So tell me more about this radiation.
There was seeing a like a ship crash and ships fighting in the sky and blowing stuff up and crashing around and blowing up and the fires and so it's like the ship parts and that kind of stuff is irradiated the whole place.
Mm.
And I'm here
Mm.
responding to the call.
Mm. So was this one of your kind's ships or another ship of a different kind of beings?
A ship of this actually is many, many ships of different kinds of beings. You can see that a great battle occurred
Mm.
in the sky and also is now occurring on the ground.
Mm. So tell me more about this weapon that you were carrying with some other people.
Hard for the mind to understand. It's an object that can transform into various objects. So it could become like a spear or a projectile or
Mm.
laser. It's it's neat. And it does so basically by connecting to the energy stream through my hand.
Mm.
Kind of like the same as like this armor. It's not really
Mm.
armor, it's like a skin that an outer layer of skin that like heals and stuff.
Mm. It's very interesting. So tell me more about these battles that take place. What happens?
We might be hurt. It feels like hurt. And there's I can see I'm not what I've heard or have been told was the quarantine broke
Mm.
and all out war.
Tell me more about that.
We we something uh, there's things we don't know, but I'm saying that I don't know, but the thing, the reptilian, they're kind of creepy. They're sort of like a thing, sort of, I don't know. I don't want to keep looking at that, but they're doing a invasion slash harvesting mission, and it's really complex. This
Mm,
broke treaties and agreements, and there's just higher levels at play. And now we're here responding to try to basically enforce the treaty.
mm,
So they thought that they would gain the upper hand here and break the rules, and this has spiraled into a huge battle that's taken place all over the planet.
mm. So, whereabouts are you? What would you call this place?
Cold. That's an interesting. It's hills and some areas are low. It looks like Europe, and it's interesting
Mm,
because there are people, and actually the humans there are I'm seeing like animal-ish men, like cavemen's
mm,
cavemen who were trying to evacuate from this area without intruding too much on
mm,
them.
mm,
And there are other like larger people who are also here, like big, not huge, but they're like 6, 7 feet tall, and
mm,
we're trying to maintain that situation too. It's
mm,
sort of like reality broke, and it's the cleanup crew or battle. It's really weird.
mm.
It's interesting though.
So tell me more about that. Tell me more about what goes on next.
Mm, we're hunting down the ship crashed all over the place, and we know that their guys are gonna be coming out, and they're also landing. So we're hunting down yeah, the enemy, but they're like like many different types of looking beings.
Mm,
I'm seeing these metallic bug things, and also there's some reptilians, but a lot
mm.
of these spider-ish, like humanoid. It's really gross.
Okay. Is- What are those things? Do you know?
They're essentially fighting drones
Mm,
for them that are here to like robotic-ish.
mm,
They're trying to hunt down people here who are not cavemen.
mm,
So there's also like humans who are eh, more advanced, and they're trying to hunt them down. So I'm working with them also to try to help them keep these at bay because they're going to spread their corruption.
mm. So why are these ones hunting down the advanced beings on this planet?
The DNA and many other things. They
Mm,
take advantage of them, or yeah, and they various reasons.
So their DNA is special, these ones.
Their DNA is special. They're like torturing their souls, torturing them. There's many reasons. Some of
Mm,
them they would eat. It's very twisted what's happened, what we're fighting here. It's,
mm. You don't have to be bothered by it. You can just tell it from an outsider's perspective if you want. So, what are the reptilians doing to these ones?
well, they're looking for them. They're not finding them here because we've organized it. This is more. This is going to become a battle on the ground because the
Mm,
battle in the sky has ended. So all of our people and their people have landed. This actually happened a while ago,
mm,
and we've been hunting each other down and fighting on the ground and trying to manage the people, the humans on the ground,
mm,
to keep them from getting too caught up in this. And
mm,
this is a problem because we don't want to interfere, but the rules have been broken. So that's what happens.
mm. So, when the rules are broken, are you allowed to interfere?
Mm-hmm. It's we still have to be careful because it will still create repercussions.
Mm,
And that's very tricky. So the cosmic law, there's a reason people don't interfere, and that's because of cause and effect that we're bound to. And that holds. However, in this case, there's the treaties that we've created to minimize interference, which have been broken.
mm. And is your kind part of these treaties? Can you tell me more
Yes.
about that?
This is what's known as the Federation, though it's much broader than that. And I don't know. I am, I can see I was created in a lab,
Mm,
but I'm still respected. I'm not treated poorly. I'm very respected,
mm,
but I can only see that this is what I do. I'm more or less a hunter.
mm. So tell me more about that, how you were created in a lab. So were you grown in an artificial womb situation?
Yeah, I see a metal room with green light glowing around this plasma liquid, and there's
Mm,
all these kind of growing in. There's scientists that check in, and they send love. So it's actually nice still, but they monitor and watch, and there are it's there's an understanding that I'm going to become a hunter. I can see myself before this life, and I look forward to it. And they're calling me forth into the body.
mm,
It's interesting,
mm,
and I can see that this is the way things are done for the most part.
mm. So
But
you're going,
it's all loving.
yeah. So
It's
you're
just
going,
interesting because the there is a very close in relationship to the whole community.
mm,
It's a close connection that I could feel,
mm,
though it's also very alien to the body,
mm,
a bit cold.
mm.
this body was very cold comparatively.
Mm. So you know that you're going to be a hunter, do you? Is is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to help lead the or help in the military aspect.
Mm.
To I look forward to this because this war is a long time coming.
Mm. And so, what does that mean for you being a hunter in this body?
Actually trained to find people, to find you can see there's lots of scout training, like training to notice, have very keen eyes and notice things.
Mm.
And then a lot of a lot of training on interacting with local life forms and proto humans and
Mm.
proto civilized beings.
Mm.
This is an important aspect of the job because of the effort to avoid interference.
Mm. So your kind participates in this sort of thing?
Mhm. It's at this point there's a thing, jumbles of people of beings who are involved in this,
Mm.
and they're different sorts of kinds. Like they all look kind of different and unique. All well, in this case, I'm training with humanoid types of beings,
Mm.
but some are really tiny and some are large and some are kind of stocky. It's interesting. But my kind mostly, there are others who look just like me,
Mm.
who are the taller, taller ones.
So you're taller, and then you've got these black eyes, do you? Alien looking eyes.
Hmm. And the mouth is small,
Mm.
and the head is a bit large at the top.
Mm. Do you have any hair on your head?
I
Can you?
grow hair. I grow hair, but I've removed it right now. I have black hair, brown hair,
Mm.
but I've removed it for this mission
Oh. Why did you remove your hair for this mission?
because I'm staying in this outfit skin,
Mm.
so the hair would become a nuisance.
Oh, did it get in the way?
Yeah, it wouldn't fit,
Mm.
which is often I like having the longer hair, but I have to take it out every once in a while.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. So you go on this mission to this other planet, and what happens as you go there, as you're made to intervene?
Oh, we know what's going on, and we could see this big battle has happened. It's like everyone's talking about it. It's a big thing.
Mm.
And when I'm in the ship and going, and we're there, and you could see there's this big burned up spots all over the planet.
Mm.
It's the Earth, but it's just big old smoke plumes everywhere.
Mm.
It's a bit unfortunate because this was a lot of promise here.
Mm.
So
A
we're
lot of,
going to go salvage what there
mm,
was.
those traumas here in this world. And tell me more about that. Tell me more about the situation that you've just gone into.
Now we're on the ground now, like seeing we're hunting for these beings and I'm finding them. And there's many of us, and there's going to be many of them. So we're about to going to get into a battle, and we're in this black, smoky area, quite extreme.
Mm. So let's close that scene and let's move forward to that day of the battle or that time where you're doing this battle. And we've moved forward to that day now. What is happening and what do you see around you?
Like I see them coming out through the smoke, and we're crouched down, waiting to fire, so they can't see us. But okay, the battle begins. It's like loud and flashing lights everywhere, and the bug thing can like roll. So I see them rolling, and they jump. And there's yeah, the jetpack, and they could jump up and go down.
So, does the enemy have this jetpack technology?
Hmm. Well, I could see it because I'm about to get stabbed. And so this one jumps on me and pushes the spear, this black, weird green spear into my chest. And it goes right in. It is not comfortable.
Hmm. You won't feel any
Initially, I don't
physical
feel it.
sensations. Yeah.
I could see it though, seeing it from outside of myself.
Hmm. So
And
you,
I'm a bit mad because don't want to die.
hmm. So you've died and exited the body.
No, I'm not dying.
Hmm. You're
I'm
not dying.
intending on living. Nope.
You're going to choose to go back.
I'm going to survive this.
Hmm.
But and I am determined to survive this, though I certainly shouldn't.
Hmm. So you're trying your hardest to survive this.
You know, I'm dragged away, and I just see this hut.
Hmm.
I can feel it pulsing through me. This
Hmm.
poison.
Oh, were those spears dipped in some sort of poison?
The spear was essentially it's a rather extreme poison.
Hmm. So tell me what happens next. How do they help you?
They put me in a water pool with salts. The pool is nice, but it doesn't stop the feeling of fire flowing through me and hallucinations.
Hmm.
And it's it's a real battle.
Hmm. So
I'm determined to live.
Do you have anything else that's helping you?
The water has salt it's more than salt. The water's
Mm,
infused with extremely strong healing ether,
mm,
and it's flowing into me, and it's helping to fight this poison, but that's congregating around my heart
mm,
back. And people are kind of around me and they're like shocked that I'm alive, but
mm,
I'm determined to live because it's over, which is I'm determined to live. And I
mm,
focus entirely on that. Focus on that to try to overcome the pain
mm,
and the mental pain too. It's not just a physical, it's like having bug like crawl into your brain
mm.
and try to eat your brain alive from the inside. And you
Is
can
that
see it and feel it.
so? Is that what this poison does?
It is. It's essentially that.
Mm,
It's not easy to put into words, but just trying to eat my brain and my heart
mm,
and implant itself if it can, and also just cause pain to try to get me to give in to it.
mm. So you won't have any physical sensations, but you can talk about it as it's happening. And tell me what happens next.
Watching myself breathe. I'm here for, I'm fighting this. It doesn't take too long to stop the initial dying. It feels like forever, but it's not. It's like a day or less. I'm in this hut, and then I live, but this I'm still fighting this poison
Mm,
for a long time.
mm,
It tries to cause pain and it tries to get to me,
mm,
and I'm rather traumatized by the pain.
mm,
But I'm also very determined to live and overcome this
mm,
because very few people do. But I know that if I can, then that will help inspire people.
mm. So tell me how you go with your life now, having this injury. What happens next?
I could see that I'm here, working here on this on Earth for a long time,
Mm,
but mostly I see us kind of talking to the home base people and the ship and the mothership, and we've won, but we're still trying to root out on the surface the enemy.
mm,
So we're trying to figure out where they're hiding because they're creating little bugs that create little implants into the earth to try to hide.
mm,
So we're seeking them out, and we're also working with the people to try to keep them safe. But some of them are talking, have many of the people are communicating telepathically with these ones who have implanted in the ground. and we can't do anything with that. We can't touch that. So
Mm,
it's important that I don't interfere too much with that, but I am allowed to destroy the enemy. But we have to be careful about having very little impact on the people and
mm,
letting them make decisions that are bad. But that's just frustrating. But it is what it is.
mm. So how
And
do
I
they
think it,
talk to these ones, the enemy underground, do they?
yeah, and the people can work with us. So if there's like a certain level of understanding in their consciousness, then we will help them with rebuilding certain things and keeping things okay. And then there are some in other places who they're scared of us and they're hearing voices that they've fallen prey to that makes them scared of us. So we can't interfere with those people
Mm,
because they have been convinced that this would be unwise, and we have to respect that. I can tell this is frustrating.
mm. It must be frustrating for you, yes.
Yeah, but we could find they have little hiding spots in the ground,
Mm,
so we're looking for them, and where our ships above are searching, trying to scan for them, but they get deeper and deeper over time. That it gets harder to find them.
mm. And they burrow in.
Hmm.
And what do you do to try and get them out once you find their hidey holes?
See, we go in there. Usually, we can catch them off guard and batch them. They have some later on. This is later on into the future. They're creating little civilizations almost, and they're hard to catch. They're hard to find because they're so deep.
Mm. They've buried deep underground and made these little civilizations, have they?
Hmm.
That makes it hard to interfere.
Hmm. Wow. At some point, if we could just cut them off from the others, then they're kind of stuck down there.
Mm,
That's almost okay because that way we don't, at least they're cut off from the rest of their society in space,
mm,
which is happens because they're further away from the planet,
mm,
then they can't communicate with them and they kind of will fall down and degrade
mm,
and become like animals.
mm. So do these ones cause problems for the beings on the surface, the humans on the surface from time to time?
Mm. Oh, yes. And that's the problem.
Mm,
And in some sense, we can't do much when I'm just saying, like, yeah, they're talking to them and they get, the humans get convinced of all these, they become zealous and frenzied and wild. And as these voices speak to them and
mm,
inspire them. And they definitely enforce being scared of us as being important because they know the enemy knows that if they make the humans scared of us, that we can't help them. And so it's frustrating because they're taking advantage of our rules.
mm,
But and I would rather them just change the rules, but that is not my decision to
mm.
make. And I understand to some extent because actions have consequences.
Well,
And
you may be involved
they
karmically.
exactly. And the it's the enemy is trying to, they wish that rule were not so they don't care for it
Mm.
because they want to they want to make that cosmic rule not exist. So they just do whatever they want and expect that that rule will not exist, but it still does exist for them.
Mm. Yeah. So do they make the humans frightened of you, do they? What do the humans do when they get frightened of you?
Well, I can see they just, well, it's kind of funny because they'll go with their spears and things and try to attack us, and we don't attack them back. We just stop them because they're not a remote threat. These ones, these little guys, the kind of caveman guys, can't do
Mm.
much. So we just sort of stay away from them. And then there's others who understand what's going on relatively, and we work a lot with them. They're typically the larger people who are from Atlantis and various societies that were small. They're kind of in the in-between state.
Mm.
So we help them out, and we don't do too much. We try not to overdo it, but I could see us, I could see myself, our little like soldier, just like kind of like maybe give them some like basic instruments and like show them how to use them. But we
So,
also don't do too much because if we do give someone something and they misuse it, then that's gonna fall on me. So
mm, yeah. So you talked about the people from Atlantis. Did they somehow, I don't know, like how would I put this? Did they go down in their evolution since that
they're
point?
going to these ones, they're like refugees who are still clinging on because they have all these seeing all little advanced colonies over the world. They're like on little islands and things. And when Atlantis goes, they're on their own, more or less, and they persist for a little while on their own, but they're losing it. And part of our job is to ensure they lose it gracefully,
Mm,
not to stop them from de-evolving, but at least remember the things that are most important
yeah. Well,
and
that will eventually
stopping them from,
happen. Yeah.
yeah, stopping them from going to war with each other to take resources.
Mm,
Because that is part of the reason this happened in the first place.
mm. So the reptilian beings, do they influence the cavemen guys a lot? And do they influence
Mm-hmm.
the Atlantis ones as well?
Well, certainly. And
Mm,
the Atlantis ones too also realize, or many of them realize rather quickly that they could go into these societies of cavemen who are really like animalistic and rule over them as kings. And
mm,
they like that. So, and once
mm,
they do that, they're on their own and they're going to be listening to the reptilian beings below them, tell them what to do. So they'll become puppets. But
yeah.
they like the power, and they were not allowed to have that power before. So
Mm,
they're creating these little post-apocalyptic societies, like overlording over them.
mm. And as like an observer from the outside, how are you looking at all of this?
I think it's kind of funny. It's bad, but it's also it's funny because I could see how I can see how these actions will reverberate.
Mm.
And part of it is understanding that this culture from Atlantis, which is really all over the world, was then intermeshing with the rest of the humans, whereas that could not occur before. So even though this is not the way to do it, this is interesting progress.
Mm.
So it's problematic, but it's amusing.
Mm. So, what sort of plans does the Federation have for the Earth at this point?
I don't think they have a plan.
Mm.
It's they're they're trying to figure it out. It's fallen into chaos, and now it's a matter of trying to salvage. And I think it's I think they need to pull their pants up and get ready to do the actual work.
Mm.
But too many of them like to philosophize and argue over
Oh.
what they think will happen karmically. And I understand that that's important, like we all do, but I also understand there's an immediate need, and that's not being stressed. There's too much delay, and
Mm.
this is my own feelings. But
Mm.
I would rather, as the hunter, I would rather have more permission to do what I wish to do.
Yeah.
So my view is not necessarily correct, but I'm quite convinced of it.
Mm. Yeah. Do any other beings get called in to help?
Hmm. There's, I can see thousands.
Mm.
I mean, I'm carrying around 20 with me most of the time. In the beginning, this is.
Mm.
Over time, as after the initial ground war is over and the initial war in the sky is over, most are leaving. And I've agreed to stay behind because um officially I've stayed behind because I want to help, but also this poison situation I have, it's living in me and killing me in a way that
Mm.
I don't want to bring back with me, and I'm okay with that.
Mm.
It's like I'm not you pick this up on this place and you leave it back here.
Mm.
And it can't spread from me, but it's well, I think I'm ashamed
Mm. Mm. Why are you
getting
ashamed?
I don't even know what shame is, but I could
Mm.
feel it. It's interesting. So the it started to make me more aware of these emotions,
Mm.
and I don't know how to handle it.
Mm.
So I'd rather be focused on doing good around here, but also a bit more on my own,
Mm.
as I can't explain these feelings
Mm.
to others.
You feel like they won't understand?
Yes, and they would see me as sort of dimmed. I mean, I don't
Mm.
know if they really would, but that's the problem is I think that I've been convinced of these things, convincing myself
Mm.
of that.
You think it's part of being here in this place?
It is also part of me is very, with its pain, become very focused on this mission
Mm.
to overcome the pain, but I don't know how to heal from it. And it's
Mm.
probably spread too far that it wouldn't, it's implanted in me, not in my body, it's implanted into my etheric body too.
Mm.
That I understand it's going to be a long, you're really not supposed to live from this kind of thing. And
mm,
the fact that I did is sort of stuck it into me.
mm. But tell me more about how it's implanted into your etheric body as well.
See it wrapping around the spine and like squeezing it, and then kind of goes around. I guess through the spine, it kind of can implant itself in energetically. I don't understand. Okay, I'm just gonna see. Yeah, so I see through the spine, and then it comes back out through that light cord, and then that gives it it's coming then back out energetically as opposed to physically, because the spine's where the physical and energetic meet.
Mm,
So it attaches to that and then
mm,
implants itself. And even this is only dealt with through releasing the energy, which I'd rather keep at bay because it's all the emotions are foreign to me and I don't know how to process the emotions to release it.
mm,
So I'm only able to release it by processing the emotions which I've never felt.
mm,
And I can't, I just suppress it instead and try
mm,
to keep living.
mm. So these emotions are very foreign to you, are they?
Hmm. Yeah, at first it was just like, at first it was easy and now it's more. First, the sensation was, since the sensation felt remote, but you hear it long enough and you can't separate yourself from it.
Mm,
The fear, terror, it's like you don't feel it at first, but then you start to accept it.
mm,
And I could see it because I understand the process, but just because I mentally understand the process doesn't mean I know how to go through it.
mm. But tell me, is this problems with radiation still here on the
Mm.
surface?
We clean it up over
Mm.
time,
Oh, that's good.
but from space, it's mostly cleaned up.
Mm,
Yeah, it's not. Well, yeah, they can clean up radiation. It just takes time. And this is rather extreme radiation.
mm. And have the people there been affected by the radiation as well?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and a lot of the Atlantean type people think that they can overcome it without attaching themselves, and you know, they kind of say it's true to an extent because they're more exposed to the radiation to begin with. But I could see that I warned them that it will affect their children
Mm,
because their DNA will alter, but most don't care that much. It's kind of like telling
mm,
a kid to wear sunscreen.
mm. So they don't quite understand what this will do
Yeah,
to them.
yeah. And they don't see that, they don't, if they could see that this level of radiation, they're very healthy, so it won't affect their body, but it will alter the genome a bit and create genetic diseases.
Mm,
But they don't understand that or care. I mean, we're all very focused on the here and now because of what's happened,
mm,
that it's easy to let go of those long-term concerns.
mm. Yeah. So does this radiation affect your body as well? The effects of
Mm.
this?
I mostly stay in this sort of skin suit
Mm,
until later on, in which case, no, the radiation itself isn't, but it did in the sense that Well, yeah, the radiation's different than this poison, but this poison's also like a radiation because it's also spreading in
Mm,
its own way throughout the surface.
mm.
And
So it's the
this poison is physical component, but it's also ethereal.
mm,
So if you can't tap into that, then it could spread through. It could spread into the energetic system of the planet, and it has
mm,
spread to the energetic system of the planet. So it becomes a matter of people are also starting to, all the humans are also starting to become more susceptible to these other more difficult emotions. So not as quickly as I am, though, because they
mm,
weren't affected as deeply. But
mm,
fear is starting to take root.
mm. So poison from these weapons, is it spreading? Can it spread to other beings?
It's also in the planet in the
Mm,
sense you see that its planet has well, I almost see that it was ingrained into the planet or in the water at some point,
mm,
and then in the air, and it's in the actual life ecosystem
mm,
and spreading very slowly. But and people, if it's a little bit, it's a little bit you could they wouldn't notice at all. The issues would slowly increasing over time to the point where people don't realize they're being changed by it.
mm,
And it's really hard to clean up because we Federation doesn't know how to, or yeah, it's a new issue.
mm. This type of weapon.
Yeah,
Mm,
used on this scale because it's a
mm,
weapon that could try to take control of people.
mm, mm. And you haven't seen this before, have you?
I've heard of it,
Mm,
but no, no, it's extreme because the karmic repercussions of trying to enslave a whole planet are and rather extreme. So it would be very unwise to do this. But the enemy has, it's hard to say what to call them, but they've become so entrenched in this that they don't care about that. And
mm,
they're willing to use this weapon to try to accomplish their goal.
mm,
Very
mm,
extreme. It's very unwise for them to do this, but they're cornered.
mm.
And and this is their last ditch effort to try to
So,
maintain their power.
so do you think they'll be repaying this for a long time afterwards?
In a sense, it's people can misunderstand karma. It's a matter of finishing what you've started
Mm,
as opposed to a debt.
mm,
So they've started this, and those who did not start it will not have to finish it.
mm. Yeah.
They will have to finish it, which means it will most likely end up, they'll use it against themselves.
Mm,
And there will not be as much help for them because it would be unwise for anyone to interfere with them figuring that out.
mm,
So the short answer is yes.
mm,
It's the way it plays out, though, is not yet to be decided
mm. Yeah.
because they could still change and decide they they can individually go a different path and
Mm,
avoid this. collectively, they're cornered themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's close that scene and let's move forward to an important day in that life, a day that you consider to be important when something is happening. We have now moved forward to an important day. What is happening and what do you see around you?
You can see that I've been called to go home and then go. Throat. Mm. I've been called to go home,
Mm,
and I'm happy where things are on this planet. I
mm,
think I've done a good job,
mm,
and the people are happy, and they're figuring it out, and there's a level of stability. So I'm very accomplished, and in this sense, my mission is fulfilled. So I'm going home,
mm,
which is means I'm leaving this body,
mm,
and I am very conscious of this experience.
mm. So is it like your death in a sense?
Hmm. It
Mm,
is. It's but um, no, the body just fades away, and like or I fly up. It's let me see.
mm. So how old were you at this point?
Mm, wow, 2,000 years.
Oh wow.
Very, but even the it's long ago, so it wasn't quite as extreme as it sounds. That's
Mm,
actually a short life to many beings.
mm. Yeah. So
Oh,
tell me what happens as you come out of the body.
body itself turns into light,
Mm,
or I basically will it into light,
mm,
and then I'm very aware of it because I'm connected to my astral body, and then I'm like well, going into back into the
mm,
light realm, and I'm like, I see myself brushing off my hands, like, oh, good, done with that.
mm. So now whatever happened has already happened and you're on the other side of it. From that position, you can look back at the entire life and see it from a different perspective. So every life has a lesson and a purpose. And as you look back at that life, what did you learn from that?
The experience of being poisoned was an experience which I was interested in to try to study it, study how that would feel,
Mm,
and begin the process of overcoming it to help the planet do so as well.
mm. So how would you overcoming it help the planet?
It's a process which we're completing now, learning to deal with those emotions in order to
Mm,
process them out of the ethereal or energetic body, the emotional body as well,
mm,
and releasing it. This is hard to do if you have never experienced it. So I raised my hand to do this, as did
mm,
many others. And in fact, all humans now have experienced this if they're
mm,
on the planet and even off the planet and in the planet have experienced some of this. Um, so it's a matter of learning how to process it,
mm,
which was much harder than I had imagined, in fact.
mm. So, what was the
And
particular mission of that lifetime?
the particular mission was to bring stability back to the Earth, and that was part of the mission, was to help stabilize the planet.
Mm,
And that's also the broader mission, is to stabilize the planet, not to fix the issue, and certainly not to worsen the issue, but to at least bring stability to it and to try to minimize the damage of external influences.
did you succeed in doing that?
Insofar as we could not succeed as much as we wished to, only because so many got scared of us,
Mm,
and then we could not interfere. So we succeeded in doing what we were able to do.
mm,
However, it does not feel like a success because of the effects of this poison and the
mm,
radiation and all these things have gone wrong, the ecosystem, that it looks uncertain as to whether we'll be able to salvage the planet.
mm, So, tell me more about that.
Well, we were not hoping for things to go awry as they had. This is the talking as the extraterrestrial being and the
Mm,
Federation. And then things did, so we were able to respond, and insofar as we were allowed to. And that's the problem, is it's a great, great connection and yearning to want to heal it, but that is battling against the understanding of the free will aspects
mm,
that we need to try our best to avoid
mm,
mingling into too much.
mm. So, would you say from this time perspective that we're still dealing with the effects of that poison now?
Mhm. Yes, and it's at this point, it's almost the opposite because people only experience this as their default state, many people.
Mm,
So they almost have the opposite experience where the power of the light is almost like poison to them because
mm,
they're not used to it. And if they're able to get used to that, they would get rid of the effect of what we're calling the poison rather easily. But it's it's an opposite experience, which goes to show how tricky this type of weapon is.
mm. So, was the poison in the spears or was it in various different forms?
Well, at one point it was in the energetic grid of the whole planet, but
Mm,
it could also be concentrated to an extreme in physical weapons.
mm,
And when it's that extreme, it usually would kill you very quickly because it would be so overwhelming that you
mm,
would project it totally and your body would cease to function
mm,
immediately. But in this case, I was totally determined to live,
mm,
partially because my goal from my higher self perspective was to overcome this or to learn
mm,
and study it. That I did manage to live, but I also had to not totally reject the experience,
mm,
which for me actually means that I've been working on releasing this heavy scar on my emotional body since then.
Mm. Okay. So, can we bring forward the higher self, please, to help with that? Would that be appropriate for this time?
We could
Wonderful.
heal. Just showing Harrison how to heal, how to work on this.
Mm.
Something he could do.
Mm. And how can he heal and work on this?
Just feeling into that space where he was stabbed. It's that pain also.
Mm.
You could just imagine light in that region, which is right where his rib cage meets, right above there,
Mm.
below the heart, right in the middle,
Mm.
above the stomach, or around there.
Mm.
That's imagining light into that area. That will help with the physical, but it is a long-term process as well because as he's connecting more with these experiences, he's starting to get more physical sensations from the
Mm.
trauma,
Mm.
which he could heal from. But it would be best to send that healing often and do this, focusing on the light in that area and just sending love to it.
Mm. So, am I speaking to Harrison's subconscious now or his higher self?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, I know the higher self could have brought forth many different lifetimes for Harrison to see today. You chose to bring forward this particular one. Why did you choose that one for him to see?
He's ready. It's
Mm.
his most difficult experience
Mm.
in many lives, we'll say.
Mm.
And this life is, we've only scratched the surface of it,
Mm.
but we've hit the main points. And it'd be good for Harrison to start to go. It's realizing where a lot of his feelings come from. And he could also realize some aspects of the world today from this life.
Mm. So, how is he with the etheric poison from that lifetime? Is that still affecting him today?
Yes. So the etheric, it as he's grown, it so when he leaves the planet, it goes away, but when you come back in, it reattaches. So it's an
Mm.
aspect of himself that has this poison
Mm.
that is fractured off, and then he needs to reclaim it. So
Mm.
it comes back in when he's in the physical body
Mm.
here. And so now it's with him, and he's then healing that aspect or layer of his body, which does
Mm.
have the poison. So it's like a bunch of little particles embedded in this aspect of the body.
Mm.
And it will slowly heal. As it's healing, though, those emotions will come up
Mm.
and they could be chaotic, which he understands and he's very much prepared for. He's been healing this his whole life.
Mm.
And this is part of the digestive issues that come for no reason.
Okay, so that's what's happening with his digestive system.
Yes, it could happen it's sensitive in that if he is going through, if he is externally reaching into or coming into contact with this, that will trigger the poison in this etheric body, which will then bring it out. So he's being triggered
mm,
externally on occasion, and that's releasing it. And also, he's internally releasing it more quickly now, and that
mm,
process is accelerating,
mm,
which is good. But it also causes some swings.
mm,
He's become very adept at processing those swings.
mm. So the poison, is it still sort of wrapping around the spine like he had in that lifetime?
At this point, it's more scattered
Mm,
throughout the whole midsection
mm,
as little bits.
mm,
So it's not nearly as extreme as it used to be.
mm,
But there's a remnant there that remains.
mm,
It's only around 10% of what there was initially or less.
mm. So can we heal that, some of that today? Help him with a bit of that? Would that be
hmm
appropriate for him to heal that or begin to heal that more deeply?
hmm
Mm,
You could just imagine the light
mm,
in his body. So it's a process. It's a process of when the emotions arise,
mm,
of then going and doing meditation or enjoyable activities that will just help move it out.
mm,
And it's moving out more quickly. So it's a matter of keeping the body stable
mm,
during that, drinking water, eating healthy. And he
mm,
will find it surprising that he will have digestive issues on occasion without doing anything to upset himself.
mm,
And that's just part of the process
mm,
that we do what we can to alleviate it.
mm. So will he be doing this in a gradual process, not all at once?
It's over a matter of lifetimes.
Mm,
But in this case, it will only be a matter of potentially years.
mm.
But
Well,
he's in
that's
the
good
thick
to
of it
know.
now.
That's good to know.
Yeah. And
So
many
is,
other people have similar, most people, all people have some similar experience.
mm,
Not quite as extreme in all cases, but in some cases it's similar.
mm. So is that where people get some digestive issues, or does it affect different parts of their body?
hmm Autoimmune
Mm,
type of issues, most likely, most cases, it's the body attacking itself for
mm,
no apparent reason. It's
mm,
because the physical body is sensing as this is being released or if it's going into the body or if it's releasing from the body. The physical body can sense it and it starts to act as if there's a poison in it. And then
mm,
it will do various autoimmune type of things.
mm. So was that poison in Harrison's lifetime that we just saw? What was that poison from? Was that from the reptilian beings or from a different faction?
It's an ancient technology that
Mm,
came down through their line and it's frowned upon by
mm,
even many negative beings frown upon this type of because it can get out of hand and can destroy planets and it's really tricky.
mm,
So I can't it came from very ancient times from a very high level. We'll say that.
mm. I see.
And it's adapted and transformed over time.
Mm,
And using it as a weapon on Earth is interesting because Earth is among the few planets where that could actually be overcome,
mm,
which is part of what Harrison was interested in this project.
Mm. So what do you mean by it can actually be overcome on this planet?
As the poison went into the energetic grid of the planet has received tremendous help in clearing it, but the planet itself did not, and the people on it who are part of the energy stream have the light is strong enough to keep that memory of the light clear enough that doesn't totally infect the system as
Mm.
it might in other places.
Mm.
And again, this may not be the case if Earth was not helped,
Mm.
but but it in many cases it causes an extreme reaction both in the any life on the planet and planets and also within planets.
Mm.
And the planet will usually end up in a suicidal, you could say, where the planet itself, the ecosystems fade and the
Mm.
planet dies.
Mm.
That is the most common outcome.
Mm. So who were those beings that Harrison incarnated into in that lifetime? What collective was he from?
Harrison's mind is not seeing it.
Mm. The
You can
ones
see
with
as
the black eyes.
they come down from the Lyran line,
Mm.
but at this point, it's changed so much that he doesn't totally see that because it doesn't feel like the bodies he'd been in.
Mm.
It feels weaponized to some extent,
Mm.
but also that's the body itself,
Mm.
and that body comes from another collective,
Mm.
which they live in jungles,
Mm.
and they're very technological and advanced,
Mm.
and they're one of the many Federation planets, but
So,
they do live on a jungle world.
so were these ones the ones that I had a lifetime as the Alukark beings? Were these the same ones as those ones? Because they just seemed similar in the description.
They're showing Harrison the jungle, and yes, Harrison's conscious. We need to take a deep breaths because but the
But,
name isn't important
mm.
exactly.
Mm.
These Harrison,
Mm.
but this is he's just looking at this planet and is mesmerized by it.
Mm.
So the mind's a little bit unfocused,
Mm.
but you
Is
can
that
see these brown trees and
mm.
our forest, jungle.
Mm.
There's nothing like it on Earth. Well, there is,
Yeah,
but very few places.
yeah. Is that why he resonated with some of those lifetimes that I posted on YouTube of these ones?
Oh, yeah. He's been on a long journey of rediscovery.
Mm.
So we've been guiding him to many things that would help him remember
Mm.
because he blocked the memory out for too long.
Yeah. So do these ones have a message for him going forward?
Oh. I see them just saying, "Oh, they're watching the show," essentially. They're like, "Oh, we're watching your show." Uh,
Mm,
they're, it's not entertainment for them exactly, but it's like very emotional entertainment
mm,
because others of their involvement here is there's others of their kind here, many
mm,
actually.
mm. Others
Yeah,
that
they
will.
they they can see through my eyes, which is kind of weird sometimes. I mean,
Mm,
they can't always, but I guess I allow them to. I
mm.
don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. So they're watching everything that's going on.
I see the highlights.
Yeah.
We won't let Harrison be too paranoid about that, but they could see them watching me now. So
Mm. Well, I think they're pretty friendly, so yeah.
they're
Mm.
very warm, but they
Yeah.
also find the Earth. They find the whole situation a bit entertaining,
Mm.
edutainment. It's educating, entertaining to them.
Mm. Yeah. So are these ones the Alukark beings? Are they physical anymore, or are they gone non-physical?
They're partially physical.
Mm.
They're they're happier remaining physical than many others
Mm.
of those collectives have been because they've enjoyed they've taken advantage of the opportunities physical life has more.
Mm.
And so they're hanging on longer, but they're getting to the point where they're ready to move up onto the next adventure.
Mm. And so Earth is part of their journey, I guess.
It is. They were
Mm.
because they do a lot of they were at that point in a place where they were creating more military technology, but more technology, and we're curious about those aspects of it. And the Earth was a place to use that in a way
Mm.
that was more productive.
Mm. So did these ones join up with the Galactic Federation as well?
Hmm.
Mm.
They were always a part of it, more or less,
Mm.
but it has to do with how the Galactic Federation came about, which would be a long topic. But
Mm.
um, I can see them. There's many of these planets which are former colonies that eventually moved apart, but always maintained connections with each other.
Mm.
So the delineation between the groups is very vague. They're not like Earth, where Earth has a quarantine where the evolution is very separated. In this case, the evolution was only partially separated. It varied throughout time
Mm.
and it varied throughout space because it really is a civilization which expanded, which was moving through an ancestral line of planets over time. Ended up
Mm.
ended up adapting more to the jungle environment
Mm.
of a certain planet.
So they preferred the jungle one.
Mm-hmm. Well, they changed their DNA to adapt to that environment, and
Mm.
a very pretty planet. There's immense amount of life in the creeks too. It's like glowing creeks,
Mm.
seeing like luminescent creeks,
So it's kind of
and
like the Avatar movie in a sense.
it is. And there's a lot of planets that have that look, and many people have remember that.
Mm. And what sort of life forms, so what sort of animals were walking in these forests?
I'm seeing an elk, but it's not. It looks different, but
Mm,
it has a similar look to an elk. And slug, there's like banana slug, like big yellow slug.
that's very interesting. Mm.
So it
So,
has some similarities to places he'd seen in California, but also in the Santa Cruz Mountains, specifically redwoods. But it's
mm,
also mixed with a very more humid jungle
mm,
look. He always likes that place because it reminds him of this type of environment.
mm, it's very nice, isn't it? So, I just had some other questions about Harrison's body. So, what's going on with Harrison's jaw? Can you tell him what's going on with his jaw? Why he feels these pulses of energy that are going through his jaw?
We've been grading his brain, and there's a nerve that goes through there.
Mm,
The nerve gets stimulated as his brain's getting adapted to a little bit higher level of power going through it.
mm,
The nerves firing and making the jaw twitch,
mm.
essentially.
So, is that something that can be helped for him, or?
Yeah, we could try to cool it. If you imagine just the right temperature, because the cooling sensation he feels is actually heat.
Mm,
So he could just imagine cooling the area and that would slow it. However, it's not a concern at all. It's like ringing in the ears where people would find it concerning, but it's
mm.
usually benign.
So, why do people experience that ringing in the ears, especially more so often?
In most cases, not in all cases, it's actually a message at really high frequency. And
Mm,
that's when it would just
mm,
come and go for just a few seconds or a minute. It's your subconscious could hear it, but your consciousness can't.
mm. Is there a way that you can hear it?
It'd be far too much. It'd be like a book of information.
Ah,
So it wouldn't be, and it's implanted deeply. So it wouldn't, you'll hear it over time as that message unfolds in someone's life. But for the most part, this would be like an extremely high amount of information just over a
mm,
few seconds.
mm. Does Harrison experience ringing in his ears as well, or just the sensation in the jaw?
He experiences the ringing occasionally, and
Mm,
we told him this is what it was, and he understood.
mm. Does it mean
Many
something if,
people,
sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
many people find it very disconcerting,
Mm,
and they should. It is possible that they could be. It is possible that people that it could not be good, but usually a negative entity would actually be more in your face, in your consciousness, not doing the subconsciousness.
mm. Does it mean something if it's in a particular ear as opposed to the other?
Physically, it is not important,
Mm,
but it is important to many people because they believe that. So if they believe that, then it can mean something different if it's on the left or right ear, because that would help make people feel more secure.
Mm. So it doesn't really
But
matter what
it,
ear it's in.
it's usually in the dominant ear,
Mm.
unless it should be in the weaker ear in order to help with that ear. But usually it's in the dominant ear.
Mm. So how is Harrison's body going at the moment?
It's good. It was cold during
Mm.
feeling the other body because the other body had a very low body temperature, but it's warm now.
Mm. That's good. And there's been a lot of solar flares at the moment. Why is this happening?
The sun has been the sun is part of the process of clearing the earth,
Mm.
because you could imagine this, we're calling it a poison, generally does not like sunlight. So the sun is going through a natural cycle. It's also going through a extended cycle of having stronger releases in order to help with the clearing, which
Mm.
is there are many beings helping in the process,
Mm.
but the sun is a major one because people pay a lot of attention to it. And part of that also is to get people to pay attention to natural phenomena and start
Mm.
to see the magic in it and see how it
Mm.
affects them physically. And that
Mm.
will also add to their awakening
Mm.
and understanding.
Because there's been many, many solar flares and an X-class flare the other day and M-class flares. And is this going to continue?
It comes in waves,
Mm.
and this wave may continue and then slow, but there are larger waves that will be coming, which people should not be alarmed about,
Mm.
but they will be more extreme and noticeable
Mm.
to the point where many people who would never even think about solar flares affecting them will start to wonder about that,
Mm.
because it will be a more clear global phenomenon,
Mm.
especially people who are sensitive, but more and more people are becoming sensitive to it.
Yeah. And how can Harrison and everyone else better acclimatize their bodies to these solar flares that are happening constantly?
Drink water.
Mm.
It's more or less that simple. Having
Mm.
the right liquids and fiber, but mostly liquids, and also the minerals.
Mm.
Yeah, magnesium and a few other, iodine. Having proper mineral levels in the body help, but drinking water is most important.
Mm.
And not getting too concerned, because if you're sometimes feeling bad, the brain, the consciousness will expand that feeling
Mm.
and make it a bit more extreme because of the belief that it should be extreme.
Mm. Well, that's good. That's good information to know because I know I was feeling very tired after that, and Harrison was feeling changes in his body as well.
Mhm. And it's triggering the body to release what it doesn't need, essentially. So the
Mm.
water helped carry that out.
Mm. That's really good. And he also wanted to know on that note, is the separation of the old Earth and the new Earth more about consciousness or a physical split? What is happening at the moment?
It's true. The physical memory people have of, they can see glimpses into the future.
Mm.
So there is a physical change that's quite dramatic that does occur in the future
Mm.
that is now going to happen so people can see it
Mm.
and experience themselves as a soul there.
Mm.
And that is real. And what's happening now, you could imagine people are like neurons in a brain
Mm.
where they're all connected to each other on some level. And the earth and its ecosystems are part of this network. And in this case, you had one network which was partially operating cleanly and partially operating in a inefficient manner and or a mm, destructive manner. And those are separating and pulling apart into just two separate fields.
Mm. So it is
And
two
now
two separate realities, is it?
it's one physical reality, but the mental field, the consciousness field, which people experience,
Mm.
is pulling apart.
Mm.
So, in a practical sense, that may be as simple as waking up one day and not caring about one's job and then looking for something that's more fulfilling,
Mm.
or changing partners, or various changes that will then result in a more clear separation in society. And that's
Yeah.
developing
Mm.
of people who are part of each of the networks, and people can move between them as they go throughout their life and day.
Mm.
So, but as time goes on, it will be the divide will become clear, and it will be less common for people to swing between them.
Mm.
So there's a middle ground now, but it's become thin over
Mm.
the past decade, and it will become separated in the
Mm.
future.
Mm.
But that is a process rather than an event.
Mm.
But that process will bring about chaotic events.
Mm.
However, people who are more focused on a positive future and can see a positive future and can feel a positive future in their hearts. So it's not a matter of seeing exactly where one will be in the future, but feeling positive toward it and acting in that manner will make it so they're not emotionally affected by what's happening in the other consciousness field.
Yeah.
So much so that it will feel like a foreign planet.
Oh, okay. Is that why Harrison wanted to ask how does politics and outside stuff, how much is politics and outside stuff actually relevant?
Exactly. Because it is very relevant. If you're on the other side, it's of extreme relevance. And if
Mm.
you're on where Harrison is most of the time, it's almost an afterthought,
Mm.
a joke, and it's not even sad. It's more funny to him. But to
Yeah.
other people, it's not. And he has chosen a life experience where he will go between the two because
Mm.
he likes trying to heal that, and he knows that that mission is starting to come to an end,
Mm.
which he is happy about. But it is also somewhat, mm, it's like you've been fighting a war for 20,000 years and it
Mm.
ends, and it's not, it's sort of melancholy, but
Mm.
also happy. But you do wonder if things could be different. And he wonders that because of his past lives experiences,
Mm.
where it was more of a battle to over people. At this point, it's more or less letting things play out as they will.
Mm.
So he could move beyond that feeling of having to convince people
Mm.
of certain things because if they're interested, then it's most certainly good to talk to them. But at this point, people who are strongly in the other mindset and consciousness field is where their consciousness is connected to. They will hear me as if I'm an alien.
Ah, yes. Yeah. That
Yeah.
it feels like that some days. Is this why
So
they
it is.
sorry.
I was saying this is very much why it is a separation of planets
Mm,
because it is much like that, and and understanding how important a field is to a planet. The
mm,
planet is truly a consciousness field. So in that sense, there is a separation of the ethereal and energetic systems, which is somewhat physical, but it's not physical in the sense that people understand physical.
mm. Yeah, it's very interesting. So Harrison also wanted to ask, how can you improve the quality of your dreams?
You might wish this answer were simple. One is the quality can be improved by setting an attention and focusing the mind before he goes to sleep, or if he wakes up having a bad dream, to just refocus his mind on something more positive. Um, that said, it is not always so simple because he is traveling in his dreams.
Mm,
And in those travels, though he's not seeing what he's actually seeing in these travels, he's seeing impressions of it. And so much more is happening in that experience that it seems like chaos to him.
mm.
And so the
So,
only part he remembers is the
mm.
part of going home back into his body, which he experiences as an airport.
Oh, is that why he
The
experiences that airport in his dreams?
yes, the real experience would not be comprehensible exactly. So he experiences it as a physical sensation
Mm,
that's like a train station or airport because a quantum portal is not visible
mm,
to a human eye.
mm. So where does he go in his dreams or when he travels outside of his body?
Mm. Lately, he has been, he largely will go to certain parts of the planet to examine the grid and
Mm,
to study its health and then report back on what he sees.
mm. Is he working
And
with
so
other beings at this time? Sorry.
there's many who do this. And right now, most of the focus is on the grid and keeping the getting the water flowing to dry areas of the planet.
Mm,
And that's not just a physical, that is physical, but it's also a allegory to explain what we mean on an energetic level.
mm. But does he do anything else while he travels outside of his body? Is there anything else that you can tell him about what he does?
Who meets with many beings, and he has small glimpses of some of these conversations.
Mm,
And he has he has done energetic like combat, but what, what, this would be like trying to go bring light into dark areas of the grid, and that can actually leave impressions on him
Mm.
because he does occasionally get attachments from that
Okay.
that will he does not have any now,
Mm.
and he's having this experience less often, but he has had bugs
Mm.
like in his ethereal body
Mm.
from trying to bring light to
Mm.
them, but they clear from him rather quickly.
Mm.
And he realizes as he has gone through experiences where he'd close his eyes and seen they would flash visions in his eyes that were very intrusive.
Mm. Is that where the intrusive
And
thoughts come from?
and they would flash visions in his eyes, which were he recognized them as not being his.
Mm.
Doing that is an easy way to block them out and stop them.
Mm.
And for the most part, if one does not give energy to them, they will leave
Mm.
because they can't survive. And part of having that experience with the poison, he's rather sensitive to how that feels
Mm.
and can see it quickly. Some people may, on occasion, which he had done in this life that we talked about today, begin to accept those as true. And that creates that attachment that is harder to remove
Mm.
because the energy is, he is then, or a person is then giving energy to it and then accepts it in, which is what he did in this life that we
Mm.
explored today. And because of that, he's more sensitive at catching it now.
Mm. So is that when you draw attention to these attachments, do they attach on even more?
You can fear them, that
Mm.
help them.
Mm.
If you're angry about them, that helps them. And they reinforce that. They may
Mm.
want you to be angry at them because that will help them
Mm.
survive.
Mm.
So it's very tricky. And this is part of the broader difficulties on Earth is the methods in which people seek to battle things can
Mm.
make them worse.
Yeah. Would it be good for Harrison and I were talking about beforehand to do a soul center healing hypnosis session because I'm also studying that. Would that be beneficial for him to do that and to help the energy body?
To get more in depth into these particles in his ethereal body
Mm.
because they will take time, but it could be this would rapid more rapidly accelerate that.
Mm. Wonderful.
And occasionally an attachment does come by and will hide in his ankles and feet
Mm.
and try to keep him ungrounded. And that's one where he can struggle.
Mm.
And that happens often, though it doesn't affect him. It only affects him very subtly.
Mm. Is there like a weakness in the energy body around that area?
hmm It is part of, and the feet and ankles, it is part of the experience of his more recent lives,
Mm.
and that he struggled to get grounded because his memory was clearer. So he was often aloof,
Mm.
which he's now healing that much more quickly
Mm.
and learning how to feel his feet
Mm.
physically and ground physically. And but in his past more recent lives, that was not the case.
Mm. So what would be helpful for him to ground himself to correct that part of the energy body?
mostly stepping onto wet grass,
Mm,
especially when the grass is wet on the earth. And
mm,
the sensation is very physical and even basically increasing sensations on the feet
mm,
and feeling sensations on the feet as one does with their hands.
mm,
That will help with the energy body. It will also help with the flow of the whole energy system, as many people who wear shoes generally will not experience this sensation, which will help improve the physical body through the ascension process.
mm. So this will help with the tired feelings as well as we go through this process to put the feet onto the
Mm-hmm.
ground.
It will help with the tired feelings and also the overstimulation too.
Mm,
When you touch the feet, you could imagine there's an electrical grid, which there is, that's subtly connecting your feet to all the life around you.
mm,
And by feeling it with any part of the body, but particularly with the feet, that will harmonize the body to that vibration of what's around them, which is very healing.
mm, mm. Wonderful. Do you have any other messages for Harrison before we ask the higher self to recede?
With life today, he will need to be, he's at a point where he won't dwell on it. So we're telling him not to dwell too much into that physical sensation,
Mm,
though over time, is that will overstimulate some of the pain it causes, though that is part of the healing process.
mm,
So we're reminding him to focus on how his body and life felt in the life he experienced on the floating cities,
mm,
as that happy experience will help counteract this one,
mm,
counteract some of the pain with this one. Though this is also an experience that he grew and gained much wisdom from.
mm,
So it should also be accepted.
mm. Will this lifetime have to be explored a little bit more in depth for him, or are we okay
It
to
will
leave
come
it
up
like that?
naturally.
Yeah.
It will come up naturally and it may be explored in the future.
Mm,
But it is like many experiences, one that will slowly unfold
mm,
more clearly.
yeah. Mm. Wonderful. So now I'm asking the higher self to recede to where it belongs, with much love and much thanks for the help and information it has been giving Harrison today.